encourage your soul, enlighten your mind, and empower your faith. This is the Light Network.
Hello and welcome to Preachers in Training. I'm Robert Hatfield. This is the podcast on which we discuss all things preaching and ministry. We're coming to you once again from the exhibit area at the Lads to Leaders Nashville Convention. We're in Delta Lobby, Level 2, according to the sign above my head. And it's great to be here. I'm happy to be joined today by MC extraordinaire of Lads to Leaders and any other youth event that you've been to lately, Dale Jenkins from the Jenkins Institute. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's always great to be with you. And, of course, I am an MC because of this tremendous voice and because I'm so young. Those two, that would work.
Those both things, correct.
And I see both our fan clubs have showed up this morning.
Yes,
for the
that's correct.
Here.
They are all lined up right outside of our recording area. So
we'll take a break for autographs later.
That's correct. I think I've already fulfilled all of mine.
Your quota for the week.
Jeff and Dale Jenkins are the forces behind the Jenkins Institute, founded in February of 2011. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
How has it been that long?
Well, there's a story behind it.
Okay.
I was doing a blog.
Yes.
Remember those blogs?
I remember those.
Interesting things. I was doing a blog and having a lot of fun with it and had started the Scoop blog, which the Scoop blog took off through no real input of mine, just because preachers are nosy. They want to know. I'm not looking to move. I just want to know what's out there.
Okay, yes.
That's kind of how it started.
That's why I read it, even to this day. I just like to know what's happening.
There are guys that read it to see if they still have a job.
So okay. Well, that's good. Have people found, sidebar, have people found out they were fired from reading the Scoop blog?
Not to my knowledge, but I've had 3 churches over the last 10 or 15 years who have called me after I posted and said, "Oh, we haven't told our preacher yet. How did you know about this?"
No.
And those quickly come down. It's like, okay, get rid of this real quick.
Okay, sorry. So you were doing the Scoop
One
blog.
of those 3
okay.
was 2 of those 3. It happened with the same church 2 times.
What?
In Kentucky.
Okay.
Those people love me.
That I'm sure they do.
So yeah, I was doing the Scoop blog and a little blog called The Blog That Binds.
Yes.
And then Jeff had started his Thoughts from the Mound.
Yeah.
And we're sitting listening to Roy Lanier Jr. speak in Old Chapel Hall at Freed Hardeman.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know the subject, but it was not the most engaging subject of all time. Don't blame the speaker, blame the subject.
Okay.
And Jeff leaned over to me and said, "Hey, Dale, let's combine our blogs."
Oh.
And I leaned back and said, "You don't want to do that. I'll get you in trouble. You're serious. I'm not. I say what I think, and you say what you should say." And, and he said, "No, let's do it." So that night in the hotel room, we started discussing. All right, if we're going to do this, we need to call it something. And so we came up with the Jenkins Institute to honor Dad.
Yeah.
Not to honor ourselves, to honor Dad. Yeah. And we thought it sounded good.
It does sound good.
And about 3 weeks later, we did our first webinar. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we just kind of kept adding to it. So that's what we do.
And now there are books and For Your Monday and scoops and missions and webinars and research and mentoring, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And, by the way, you guys are doing this full-time now.
We're both doing it full-time now. We had discussed, in fact, I tell more than I should tell. Jeff will call me on this one probably, but we were doing a better conference for preachers in California, and that afternoon after the conference, we're in a rooftop pool in Anaheim, California.
Okay, I was not expecting this.
There you go. Okay. And we're having a great talk and everything. And while we're talking, some of our fans are
here making faces at us.
There you go. So Jeff said, we ought to do this full time.
Yeah.
And we started talking about it. That'd be awesome. We started talking about it.
Yeah.
And that then about 4 or 5 years later, Laura died. And Jeff then said, all right, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do it unless you do it, but I'm going to do this. So, there you go.
That leaves you with like one option.
Yes,
okay.
Sir. So that's not 100% accurate, but I mean,
Okay.
he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
He did not feel like he could do local work without Laura, and I understand that and appreciate it. So that's how we decided to do this full time. So in April of 2021, he told his elders that his time was done.
Yeah.
And that very day, or no, he announced to the congregation. And that very day, I told my elders that I was going to be doing it a little bit later than him, a few months after. So
Yeah. Wow.
that's how we got started.
And what a blessing you guys are and
Well,
have
you're kind.
been and continue to be. I mean, I don't know how many times I'm posting things into the Preachers in Training group, things that you guys have written, and that you've shared. And I don't know, I think about like the Better conferences and the whatever spinoff of that they call it at Freed Hardeman Lectureship, where you guys are basically doing a Better conference, but it's not a Better conference.
So
It's better.
to be very honest,
I can't
we're
believe it's
just-
not better. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
We are a small voice among many voices in the church, and we're thankful we get to be a part of that. But there are so many. Maybe one of the things I've learned the most in the last 2 years of doing this, a little over 2 years, is how many good things are going on in the church, all over the world. I mean, we hear about stuff that's been going on for years and years and years that we never knew about, and from things like the Light Network. And I'm very serious. The good that y'all do is tremendous, and it's not just y'all, but it's all of us doing these little things together.
Yeah.
And some of them get more traction than others, but those that don't get traction aren't less important. 1 Corinthians 12, we're talking about parts of the body.
Heard about that.
Yeah, it's a little text there.
Yeah.
So those parts. So the little thing happening in in Fiji, where nobody's ever heard of it outside of Fiji, is just as important as Lads to Leaders. That's influencing 25,000 individuals. They're doing their part in the Lord's service, and so that's what we're all trying to do. And so we get to be a little part of the big work that God is doing in the world, and we're just thankful to get to do it.
Well, and in the world, truly, I mean, you guys are traveling all the time, and I mean, just this year you've been to multiple countries, right?
Yes.
I mean, we're recording this, and it's not even April yet.
Yeah, it's not.
You were in India not long
take a
ago,
nap.
weren't you?
Yes, we've been in India and Fiji so far this year.
Okay.
No, India and Belize so far this year.
Belize, okay.
And we've got about 7 or 8 other places we'll go before the year is over. So we don't have a real goal for it. People ask us to come, and if we can make it happen and there's something good that we can offer, we will do it. And that's just our policy. We don't have a, we'll do it for this or that. We don't charge anybody for anything that we do, ever. We just decided a while back we're not going to charge people for things. And so there are good people out there that have helped make that happen, support the work that we do, and we appreciate that. Good congregation, good people. We're thankful for them. But that allows us then to say, all right, we're going to go to Fiji, and it's going to cost, $7,000 or $8,000 for the trip and everything. But we get to do it and not worry about them having to worry about, can we afford to bring somebody here?
Wow. Okay, and in addition to that, of course, you're traveling all over the country as well. You guys are preaching, it seems like, every Sunday, just about. I mean,
so I'm a member of the Spring Meadows Church of Christ in Spring Hill, Tennessee, where Dan Winkler is, and Joe Wells and a few other
Chuck
really
Morris.
good guys. Did I leave Chuck out?
Yeah, you left Chuck out.
Chuck followed me in the pulpit there, and man, he's killing it. He's tearing it up. It is wonderful. I could not be more delighted.
Place is growing like crazy, as it has been for years now.
He's doing what I wished I could have done had I had my full focus on that work.
Okay.
My focus was diverted between that work and the work with the Institute, and I mean, Chuck has skills and gifts that are so far beyond mine when it comes to interacting with people, dealing with them, connecting with them, and I just could not be more delighted to see something that I got to be a part of it in its early start, thriving when I'm gone. So I've been there 2 Sundays in the last 2.5 years. So I'm yes,
well, you're a very active member. That's like Christmas and Easter. Is that what's going on?
Every other Christmas, every other Easter.
Okay. All right.
Christmas and Easter only. So, I worship with Spring Meadows every Sunday online.
Oh, okay.
So that afternoon, after I'm done preaching wherever I preach that day or that night or sometimes Monday, I will go online. I'll watch the service every week because I'm a member of that congregation. I give online. Melanie and I give online. So we give there every week.
Okay.
We're very involved in the work there. Now, Melanie, my wife, is at almost every service. She rarely misses unless I'm close enough by or she is on a trip with me, which is relatively rare. But we get to preach most every Sunday, and there's a handful of Sundays for both of us, less for Jeff than for me. Jeff's in much more demand than I am. That's just the truth. But there's a handful of Sundays where we will not be preaching, and on those Sundays, we'll try to visit somewhere or be somewhere that maybe a minister needs encouragement or something like that.
Right. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear about this. I don't know that we often have time just to sit down and actually talk about the Institute itself, and I appreciate just sort of the inside look at all of that. I frankly don't know when you guys sleep or like how you make up the travel time between point A and point B, because it's like today you're in India and then tomorrow, you're in Oklahoma. I don't even understand how this happens. But
well, it's really fun. I mean, I don't know what to say. We're having a good time.
Good.
And as long as it's enjoyable, it doesn't mean that every second of every day we're just happy. But as long
it
as
seems
it's
like that.
Now,
it seems like you guys are just happy all the time.
But we get to be with the greatest people on earth.
Okay.
God's people.
Yeah.
I mean, what could be more enjoyable than coming to this event and walking around and seeing people who love the Lord and seeing their children and seeing all these little children? It's just, man, I can't express how much it thrills my heart just to be at and so we get to do that every week. And it's so neat to see it. We're seeing a slice of the kingdom of God here on earth in ways that I never thought I'd get to see it. I've been with local churches all of my life, and 5 or 6 Sundays, 8 Sundays, if they're really good to me, I would get to be somewhere else and experience a little bit. But now I'm getting to do it every week. It's so much fun. And so part of just inside baseball, part of what we do is Jeff has very specific parts of the Institute that he is that he is ultimately responsible for. And then I have parts that I'm ultimately responsible for. Scoop Blog is mine. Research is mine. Mentoring is Jeff's. And just a little more about that. I'm more of a writer, and I'm a better writer. I write more. Jeff is more of a speaker and teacher, and he is in much more demand than I am because of his skills and gifts and connections and all. And that's really neat. But it allows me to do some of what I do, and he gets to do what he does.
Awesome. So, well, you guys make a great team too.
We love each other.
So another reason why I wanted you to sort of go into all these places you go is because you are able to sort of, as you said, get a slice of the Look at this segue. Do you see how I've been doing this for 11 years? Can you tell? You set me up here. So you guys get a good cross section of the church these days. Big places, small places, remote parts of the world. Very densely populated parts of the world. We're hearing a lot from I don't really even know where that's sort of negative. Culturally we're calling it a post-Christian nation, and then inside of churches of Christ we're hearing a lot about how we're on the decline, we're losing all our young people, things like that. The irony is not lost on me that we're saying this.
Yes, we're losing all our young people.
It's like a maxed out Opryland hotel here.
I think it's maxed out. Hard sellouts. What they were
hard sellout. Okay. So what do you guys see? I mean, and this is equal parts colloquial as well as, I know you guys do a lot of like the research stuff as well. You're polling ministers mainly, right? And elders, those who are on your email list.
So let me delve deeply into this and a few things to get started. First is, a lot of what I'm going to tell you is observational. And I want to tell you why that exists. We are not a denomination.
Yeah.
And the voices on the extreme left, and some voices even that are a little more moderate, will indicate the Church of Christ is a denomination.
Yeah.
It is not. And there are numerous ways to prove that, but the ultimate way to prove it is that there's no headquarters. So there's nowhere to send. So when guys get out there, and you said you don't know who it is that's saying these negative things, I do know who it is.
Okay.
When guys get out there and spread this negative stuff, they don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Oh.
There's no agenda. There's no research team out there that's able to research us.
So their data would also be observational.
Well,
right?
I mean, all of our
Or is it just
observational
slanted,
and
biased?
a lot of it is very, very biased. If you always want to look behind the agenda of why someone's saying something.
Okay.
I mean, remember all the, I'm sorry, this is not where we're going to go, but remember all the gay gene studies that came out years ago? And then we found out, lo and behold, the people that were saying there's a gay gene were gay people.
Okay.
Not being ugly to them. I mean, they're good folks, some of them. You know, I love them. They got us sold. But the fact is that they were slanted because of an agenda that they were pushing. And so they're pushing this agenda, and it's that's just the way it is.
Okay.
So how many churches of Christ are there in the world?
Yeah. No idea.
I mean,
don't know.
So
you read some of these, it's like 5. and yesterday it was 8, but today it's 5.
I can
That's
stand
what you
outside
hear.
this building and throw a rock and hit 5. Okay,
Exactly.
We're in Nashville. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'd have to throw pretty well, but
yeah.
So the numbers that are gathered in Churches of Christ are gathered by a guy named Carl, who is a good friend of mine.
Okay.
That lives here in Nashville.
All right.
And works for 21st Century Christian.
Yeah.
And he puts out the book, Church of Christ United States. And his words to me were, now the voice, the negative voice out there saying there are 3 Churches of Christ closing every week in America. That's the number they're giving. The number 3 is interesting. I wish I had time to go into where that comes from.
Is this like numerology or something?
Numerology. That's right.
Okay.
Research numerology. So he told me that number is inaccurate. I have told the people that are saying that number is inaccurate, and they're still saying it, which makes them dishonest.
Okay.
The last statement's my statement, not his. But if somebody said, if you said, Dale, you are, and you said I'm something, and I said, no, I'm not, and then you went around telling people that I was what I had told you I'm not, and I was factually correct, and you weren't,
right?
You would be being dishonest. I mean, that's just, I don't want to explain what dishonesty is, but that's what it is.
Okay, this is true.
So how many Churches of Christ are in the United States? And I asked him that question. He said, I don't know. The man who knows more than anyone else said, I don't know.
He compiled the book.
Okay. So you said we got till 10?
Yeah. We're only 18 minutes into this. We're doing great.
Okay, so real quickly.
Yeah.
I know, real quickly.
It's fine.
Back around 1950-ish, the U.S. Census Bureau contacted Lipscomb University, Lipscomb College at the time, and said, we are trying to find out how many Churches of Christ there are and how many members are of the Church of Christ. Great.
Okay.
The guy at Lipscomb, whoever it was, probably Willard Collins at that time, who was not president, would have been vice president then, or dean maybe. Brother Collins said, I don't know, but I would recommend you call Batzel Barrett Baxter. Brother Baxter was preaching at the Hillsborough congregation. Brother Baxter had a nationwide reputation in those days, and so they called Brother Baxter. Brother Baxter said, I don't know, but let me get back with you. So he was at Hillsborough, he contacts every congregation he knows of in every region he can think of the United States. He knew a lot of people. Yeah. Phone calls, handwritten letters. How many members are there of the Church of Christ in your congregation and your county, and list those congregations? Because
back then you can't do a Google Maps search.
Couldn't do a Google Maps search. You couldn't you couldn't do a mass email. You couldn't do a text message.
Oh.
It's handwritten.
That must have taken a long time.
So several months later, he contacted the U.S. Census and he said, "Here's how many there are." And he said, "Now this is an estimate." They published the number. Fast forward 5-10 years, 1955, 1960. I don't know what year it was, but fast forward a little bit, and you fast forward, and they contacted him again. He's now their contact person.
Yes.
Hillsborough.
For the U.S. Census Bureau.
Yes. Hillsborough had grown like 10%.
Okay.
So they've gone from 600 to 660. Okay, 10%.
Yeah.
Good growth over a 10-year period, I
Uh-huh.
guess. Well, guess what happened? Brother Baxter made everybody grow 10%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because he thought that was normative.
I mean, he doesn't have time to contact every congregation every 10 years.
Sure.
So it's churches are growing. I'm out among them. Churches are growing.
Yeah.
10%. In 1960s, you'll hear this everywhere. You'll hear
Yes.
this all the time.
Right.
The Church of Christ were the fastest growing
Yes.
religious group in America.
Yeah.
We may have been, but there is no proof of that.
Okay.
That was an anomaly. I mean, I'd love to think we were.
Yeah.
But we kick ourselves, we beat ourselves up because we're not growing. We're not the fastest growing group anymore. When we probably never were the fastest growing group. And again,
Interesting.
that's not being ugly to Brother Baxter. I
Yeah, yeah.
love Brother Baxter.
Uh-huh.
Thankful for the work that he did.
Yeah.
I've got many of his sermons. He was a great preacher of the Word of God. He did the best he could.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't do anything bad.
That wasn't official research or anything.
No. So now, Carl, my friend,
Yes.
years ago, he took this over. He sends out postcards every 3 to 5 years to everybody listed in that book.
Mm-hmm.
Henderson gets a postcard,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
And the secretary brings it to you.
Maybe.
Maybe gives it to an elder.
Yes.
Maybe brings it to you.
Probably.
But you look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, and you fill it out.
Uh-huh.
You send it back in. No problem, right?
Right.
You would do that, right?
Easy. Yeah.
Now, what size was Henderson 10 years ago?
I honestly do not know.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
You just proved my point.
Okay.
You filled out the card.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Right.
Now, you're an optimist, I think.
I am an optimist.
You would say the church at Henderson's grown.
Right.
And so you would
Wherever
say,
we are now, the number 10 years ago would be less.
Obviously.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Let's say you're a pessimist and you want to see the church change. In
Yeah.
order for the church to change, you've got to create drama so that people realize, we got to change stuff.
Yeah.
What would you say then?
Yeah. Well, we've probably fallen off
We've
a little.
fallen off a
Yeah.
lot. And not only us,
And
but everybody
COVID
around
didn't
us.
help us any.
And COVID didn't help. I mean,
Right.
so everything's bad.
Yeah.
So you write down a low number. Now, let's do this differently. Henderson
Okay.
is a large congregation. Name me a small church near Henderson.
A small church.
Luray.
near Henderson.
Luray?
Yeah, Luray. Sure.
How many people Luray?
I have no idea. I really don't know.
You don't play this game.
I
right?
don't. I'm not good at this. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you where Luray is right now.
Okay.
It's Saturday of Lads to Leaders.
It's in Luray.
Yes, I got that much.
For Luray is.
Yeah.
Let's say 50. Okay. I don't
Okay.
have a clue either. They
Let's
may be
say 50.
15,000.
Sure.
I don't think they are, but
Sure.
let's say 50.
Okay.
That's a fair number.
Yeah.
So the postcard goes to give me a name. Give me a name. Any name. Make up a
Virgil.
name. Virgil.
Longbottom.
Goes to Virgil Longbottom. Virgil Longbottom
Yes.
has filled out that card for
Yeah.
30 years.
Okay.
You got any sad music? Sadly, Virgil died.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the postcard came to Virgil.
Yeah.
And he's dead. And his wife now is 90. And she doesn't get the mail. Her daughter gets the mail. Her daughter's left the church. Her daughter sees that postcard, tears it up.
Yeah.
After a period of time, Carl will no longer list the Luray Church.
Okay.
Now, for a period of time, he'll list it.
Yeah.
But they don't exist anymore. I've done everything I can to contact them. They don't exist. 3 churches a year.
Ah.
Spring Meadows. Moved locations. Think of a church that's changed names in the last 10 years.
Memorial Parkway in Huntsville, Alabama.
It's
Yeah.
been longer than 10 years, but
Okay.
that's a
Sounds
good one.
right. Yeah.
They're now Chase Park.
Chase Park.
So what they would say is Memorial Parkway no longer existed. Chase Park now exists.
Okay.
One less church.
Yeah.
Now those who are saying that we're losing 3 churches,
Right.
they're not going into the numbers and saying, but we gained 6.
And it's just not that simple. I mean,
It's
because
not as
churches,
simple.
they may change their name because they change their location.
Yeah.
Something like
Or
that.
they may have merged with somebody.
They may merged.
Or they may have planted a church.
All
And
healthy
we may
things.
we may be adding churches and not
Yeah.
losing churches.
But how about this? So where I was at Gold Hill Road, the
There we
elders,
go.
the elders had this idea. If we get up to 300, that means in our location of the Carolinas, it's time to plant a congregation somewhere
Yes.
where there's not one. So I got there, and that year, the year I arrived, we lost 75 people. But they went out and started a new congregation.
Right. Which Indian
land. Yeah.
Where Brian Dill is now.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, very cool. But before that, they planted another congregation.
They had. Yeah, that's right.
And if I remember right, they
Clover.
also were a plant.
They were a plant.
From Charlotte Avenue.
Yeah.
I remember when they planted. I remember one of the elders that came and talked to me about
right
them.
around 30 years ago.
Yeah. I was at Hamilton at the time. So you're having that happening.
Right.
Okay? Spring Meadows is a church plant. I mean,
and meanwhile, the original congregations are technically losing members because they've ceded those members to a new congregation.
Yes, yes.
So it looks different on every metric.
But all three of those congregations are growing.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
I mean, so it's kind of so to say that we're dying is a really, really big sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now where does this come from? Well, it comes from those who have an agenda, who would like for the church to be instrumental. Mm-hmm. If we're going to reach young people today, we've got to do this. Yeah. We want women in leadership because they feel bad because their wife doesn't get the attention that she thinks she deserves. Mm-hmm. I'm not being ugly there. It's just reality.
These are the things we hear commonly.
Agenda-driven.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're agenda-driven, you've got to create a crisis. Mm-hmm. So they got their crisis now, and now they're going out all over the brotherhood and telling them the church is dying, we've got to do something, sound the alarms, pull the whistle. They have nothing to back it up.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I'm not being ugly to them or mean to them. Some of them are probably good people, and some of them are people who have heard that number and then shared that number with other people, not knowing that they're giving incorrect information.
And they're the very people that you're describing now who would freely admit we do not have a headquarters. We are not a denomination.
Yes,
and in so doing, you're saying, how could I even know this number is accurate?
Right. Right.
So yeah, okay.
No,
go ahead.
You go ahead.
Are you then arguing that there is not a reason for the pessimism? In other words, so if we take the agendas away and the bias away, is your observational quote unquote data more positive?
Okay, so let's go to step 2 of this.
Oh, okay. We're not even ready for it yet. Okay,
no, we're getting there. But this
is helpful, by the way.
This is important. Okay.
Yeah.
Step 2 is everything is local.
Okay.
Everything in the church is local.
Yeah.
You know, I heard Ray Owsley, an old elder friend of mine, 40 years ago, say all politics are local. Yesterday, if you're following, you can do the tracking.
Yeah.
The Democrats had a fundraiser that raised around $26 million. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens? Well, they're going to have field offices. They have 13 field offices in North Carolina. They've never had more than 1 or 2. So what are they saying? Well, suddenly they're realizing politics is local.
Yeah.
So President Biden may not get any of those votes in North Carolina, but Bubba Joe that lives in Gibeon County, North Carolina.
I don't even know. I didn't live in North Carolina. I lived in South Carolina.
The Carolinas.
Well, I I don't know anything about North Carolina.
Okay. Lives in Lowndes County, North Carolina.
Lowndes County.
Yeah, he lives there. And he's friends with everybody in his city, and he gets a lot of votes for the president because there's a local office, and he's paid.
Right.
Okay? So what we experience in our own life, we have bias toward thinking everything is that way.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
So you're at Henderson, and the Henderson Church, from everything I know, is doing well.
Sure.
Not perfect, but doing well.
Yeah.
So your bias would be, all right, I've preached 3 meetings this year. They've all been at churches that were good churches, and they all seem to be growing. Mm-hmm. I think the church may be growing. Yeah.
Freed Hardeman students are great.
Don't let me forget to come back to Freed Hardeman in a little while.
Oh,
okay?
great.
We do need
Okay.
to come back to that because that's important in this too.
Okay.
So, all right, let's say you were at Luray.
Yeah.
And let's say Luray's not growing. I don't know if it is or not.
I don't either. Yeah.
We're going to get letters from Luray.
Oh, great.
Thousands of letters.
Thousands.
From Luray.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's say Luray is not growing. And they get together every week, and they're shrinking, and they're dying, and they didn't recover well from COVID because some churches didn't.
So
they're talking about closing their doors, and they close their doors. And you ask somebody that's a member at Luray, how's the church doing?
Yeah.
Struggling.
Yeah.
So when I talk to preachers all over the brotherhood, all over the world, when I talk to preachers everywhere, what's happening in their place is transposed into the brotherhood.
Yeah.
Okay. That's part 2.
Mm-hmm.
So people, people walking by here, we can stop them one at a time.
Yeah.
How's the church doing? Oh, we're struggling. Well, what do you think? Oh, the church is struggling today. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if we're going to exist in the future. their pessimism based upon their experience makes them think everything's bad.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk about Freed Hardeman. Observational. Most every moderate to conservative program that I'm aware of in the Brotherhood, parachurch organization, is thriving. Last to leaders.
Yes.
Jerry Elder told me 25,000 people this year. I can remember a few years ago it was 10,000 people.
Yeah, that's wild.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. That's nationwide, not Nashville, but nationwide.
Nashville's maxed out, so it can't be more than 10,000.
Okay.
Pause to the Pulpit. How's it doing?
It seems to be growing.
They've
added a second conference this year.
Yeah, every single year. CYC, Challenge Youth Conference, Gatlinburg, Pinchford, Tennessee.
Right.
Had the biggest group under one roof we've ever had. Probably the largest group of gathering of Christians under one roof in the last 200 or 300 years.
If you have extra tickets that are unused, let other groups know they need them.
Larry told me we could have sold 1,000 more tickets easily, just people who contacted us.
Wow. And that's not a small building you guys are in.
That's 13,000.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So it's growing every year. EYC, Exposure Youth Camp, Huntsville, Alabama. We had this year, we went over 3,000 for the first time.
Wow.
We have grown every year.
You have to register early if you want a room in the Embassy Suites that's attached to the convention center.
You don't want a room there.
You don't? Okay.
I'm trying to tell you that. You don't. Repeat these words. I don't want to be in the Embassy.
You're just saying that.
Well, we can house like 600 people in the Embassy. We got 3,000 there.
Whoa.
Maybe it's going to be 2,400 people unhappy with us.
There's a lot of people bussing around.
Yeah. So we're in 12 hotels this year.
12 hotels.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So again, growing.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you name
now, some
the
people
program.
might say, is that a Bible Belt thing? Because all the things we just mentioned are all in like Tennessee, North Alabama.
Focal point.
Texas, yeah.
Texas,
yeah.
growing.
San Marcos, Texas.
Jeff just did a conference in New Hampshire last year. Christian men's conference, largest they've ever had.
Yeah,
and it's not just there.
Right,
we're seeing it.
Jeff and I were in Faith Builders in Seattle last year.
Yeah,
Tacoma, Washington.
Yes,
and I said, "Well, how's it going?" And they said, "Well, it's doing okay, I guess. We have 200 people here." And I said, "It's a Thursday morning." I mean, that's good even in Tennessee. for a local church to be hosting a conference and have 200 people on a Thursday morning, that was wild.
Observational, right?
Yeah.
But our observation is that everywhere we go, the church is growing. The programs are growing.
Yeah.
So the topic here is trends that we're seeing in the church today.
Okay.
So here are a few we're seeing.
Yeah.
We're seeing more young children than we have ever seen. Everywhere we go, it blows our mind. It gets almost humorous sometimes. So last Sunday, let's just do last Sunday. Jeff preached in Wisconsin. Jeff and I were there 2 years ago. They had 60 people there. They had 120 this year.
Whoa.
Okay.
So they've doubled in 2 years?
2 years in Wisconsin.
Wow. Okay. In Wisconsin.
And if I can remember where I was Sunday, I know where I was.
Let me check Facebook. I'll figure it out in a minute.
Waverly, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
They asked me 3 years ago to do a church growth workshop for them. I did one for them last year.
Yeah.
There were like Saturday morning, Waverly, Ohio, a little bitty town, 4,000 or 5,000 people. They had 30 people there. And I kind of thought, oh, okay, it's a long way to drive for 30 people, but it's all right. This is what I do.
Yeah.
So they did it again this year, 60 people. Worship last year, they had 40 people. Worship this year, they had 76 people.
Wow.
Waverly, Ohio.
Yeah.
Not Bible Belt.
Right.
Wisconsin.
Good
not
point.
Bible Belt.
Yeah.
So the first trend we're seeing is young children. I don't mean teenagers. Now, this is not saying we don't have teenagers.
Yeah.
We do. But what we're seeing is every church we go to, 5 years old and under is thriving. Huge groups of them. And it's so exciting and refreshing to see.
Yeah.
So that's trend number one.
Okay.
Now, for those who might be ministers or maybe ministers in training out there, here's a little tip for you to think about. What has happened generationally in the church over the last 4 or 5 generations anyway is a preacher will go somewhere, and a lot of people his age and his kids' age will come to that church.
Yeah.
And that group grows, and it's the largest group in the church. So the 30-year-old preacher goes to church. He's got 2 little children. That segment of the church grows. Then he stays there. It goes well. The church grows. He stays there. He stays there 30 years, 40 years. And all those people get old. And the children grow up and don't leave the church. Some of them do. They move off. And suddenly they're an old church. So just frankly, part of our leaving Spring Meadows was part of it, a very small part of it. Part of it was, hey, I want to leave here before we age out, before the congregation becomes my age.
Okay.
And we bring in younger people who and it's worked. Chuck's bringing in a new demographic, and churches that do that, it's worth considering how to make that happen in local churches. All right, so trend 1, young children.
Yeah, lots of young children.
So cool to see.
The COVID baby boom.
Maybe
so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So we go out to where were we? Church in Middle Tennessee not too long ago.
Okay.
It was 12 miles to the nearest gas station.
Oh.
So we're talking rural. And,
Right.
and I know it's 12 miles to the nearest gas station because my tank said I had 25 miles on it. And I passed a gas station, and I thought, there'll be another one.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm 12 miles out, 12 miles
Right.
there, I got 12 miles back, 24 miles. I made it, no
Okay.
problem.
Okay.
But I do know it's 12 miles to the nearest gas station. So we're out rural.
Yeah.
Get there, didn't know anything about it, get there. They're adding on to their building. And one of the elders says, comment on it, he says, we got a problem. He said, we're full right now. We have chairs in the aisles. They did. We have chairs in the aisles every Sunday. And he said, but the problem is we're adding 125 seats. We'll be full when this is built. We already have those seats full. When we take those chairs out of the aisles and we put them over there, we're going to be full immediately.
Really? Wow.
And what I noticed is rural, middle of nowhere, children everywhere. So little children.
Okay.
So what else? Trend 2. Ready for
Yeah.
trend 2?
Trend 2.
Ministers who love their congregations. Please don't misappropriate what I'm going to say, anyone, but the pandemic blessed a lot of churches in a number of ways. One, it blessed a lot of churches financially. Brotherhood-wide, we're seeing churches that have a lot of money right now. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing if they use it well, and they're trying to use it well. So everywhere I go, I've seen churches with excess money, which is good. But part 2 of that is ministers that did well worked really hard in the pandemic. And those who did well grew closer because it became so much about ministry.
Yeah.
Taking care of these people, checking on these people, calling them, going by and waving at them, just taking something to buy to them.
Right.
Keeping connected to them. And out of that spun, part of the crisis we're having right now of trying to find ministers is not because of a shortage of ministers. We could go into that trend as well if we wanted to in a little while, but you're going to get bored before that happens. You want some Red Bull here? Part of that trend is, so ministers, churches have more money, ministers work really hard, ministers do really well, churches started paying their ministers a little better.
Okay.
Not true everywhere, but
Right.
again, seeing that happen. And so ministers don't want to move now. They're in love with their local congregation.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
It's a good trend.
Yeah.
So they love these people. And how good is that?
Right.
Well,
COVID, I mean, to your point, I mean, it's like we've been through something together here. That's the kind of stuff that forges you together almost for life. You know what I mean?
It does. I think we're going to see some of that happen. It's really cool to see.
All right, so we have an influx in young kids and also an influx in ministerial tenure.
Connection.
Tenure. Okay. Tenure, that'll play out, but the connection, okay.
Third, and this again is observational, we're seeing numbers up. Everywhere we go, we're seeing numbers up. Now, a friend of mine called me out on that, and he said, "You're seeing numbers up because churches that invite you are churches that are healthy, and their numbers are up."
Ah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, again, this is only observational. I haven't put the finger.
I only go to healthy churches.
You're a church that's unhealthy. I don't want to see you.
You won't find me in any of the churches in Asia except for one or two. That's it. You know,
Asia Minor.
Asia Minor is what I meant to say. Of
not
course.
Asia Major.
Asia, correct. Corinth. I don't have time for that place.
So we're seeing numbers up in churches, and that's a really neat thing to see. Again, all politics is local. Churches are local. I know there'll be people hear this and say, "Well, I know 3 churches are all dying." Well,
right.
I know some churches are dying too, but the majority that I'm seeing are healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have churches that are closing. Let's go back to those 3 a week closing.
Yeah.
Okay. We have churches that are closing.
Right.
Let's be honest about it. A lot of those churches needed to close 20 years ago.
That's right. Yeah.
They weren't doing any business.
That's a harsh truth, but it is a truth, I think. You know, 15 people. The oldest person there is a little old lady.
They're all driving for 40 miles away.
And her husband used to take care of everything, and he passed away, and so now she's sort of the de facto
I can't leave.
person.
I can't let this go.
Right.
And they all love each other, which is marvelous and wonderful. I'm not discounting small churches. I'm thankful for them.
Right.
But there does come a point at which you say, if we're going to do the greater good for the kingdom of God, let's take this building, sell it. Let's take our people, help a church be healthier somewhere else. And it's not. It's oftentimes the city. It's not the church. So years ago, there was a post office here, and a middle school here, and an elementary school here, and there were 2 or 3 stores, and now there's the church building.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. Yeah. Our fan club has arrived.
They're all kin to me.
Yeah, that's true. So, and like unincorporated areas as well. You know, they used to thrive a little more than it seems people are gravitating more toward urban areas.
Yes. Yeah. That's a trend. That one can be tracked.
Yeah.
Statistically.
Right.
Trend 4. Elderships are becoming elders, shepherds.
Okay.
And the pastor system is beginning to die.
So the old joke, the preacher does the elder work, the elder does the deacon work, the deacons don't know what they do. You're saying that's trending in a better direction.
Time, computers, ability to communicate, the way people process leadership, add all those into the mix, and elders are becoming more connected to the congregation. Tremendous trend.
Yeah.
So preacher can spend more time preparing, studying. He's not doing all the shepherding, and he shouldn't be.
Right.
And he knew he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But he did it because no one else was doing it.
Had to do it. Yeah.
And if you're still doing it, bless you and praise God you're doing it.
Keep on
doing
going.
your best.
Yeah.
But help train your elders to be elders. So I had a fear I'm gonna express to you that occurred about 25, 30 years ago. I feared people my age becoming elders.
Okay, yeah.
Now, that's not a personal statement.
Okay.
It's people my age. So think about people my age.
Okay.
Just in Robert's mind saying, old people. Think about old people.
I'm not thinking about old people. You all seem younger to me every day. I'm just saying.
So, yeah, of course we do. 70 is not old anymore.
No, it's not.
So we were the first generation, by and large, in Church of Christ, to have youth programs, youth groups, camps, pizza parties, youth rallies.
Okay.
They all developed when we were kids. The first youth ministers, not a criticism to them, they played with people.
Okay.
Their job was take them get pizza, take them to play volleyball, take them play putt-putt, do something when we go bowling on a Friday night, have a lock-in. That's the first generation of youth ministers. So we grew up playing all the time.
Yeah.
And having our needs met.
Yeah.
That's
needs net.
Yeah, that too.
Uh-huh.
So my fear was we're going to become elders. My generation become elders. And we're just going to be all about fun, and we're not going to be about any commitment to the Lord.
Oh, okay.
Now, that has not happened from the elders that I've seen that are our age.
Yeah.
But so that's a good thing. But the next generation, second generation youth ministers come along, and they're all about service. You probably grew up in a youth group where, if you did, that there was a lot of service.
Yeah.
The service project all the time. We're doing service. The new generation, the generation I'm seeing now of youth ministers, is about study. And it's kind of cool to see. The maturing of youth groups and youth programs is kind of cool to see. So all that comes together. So these guys become elders now, and elders that are in their 80s and 90s, thank God for them. I mean, you think about these men that have served 30 or 40 or 50 years. You know, how awesome is that?
Right.
Most of them grew up either during or as a result of the Depression. And I call them Depression time elders, not a criticism. So what is there about the Depression? There was scarcity and fear of scarcity.
Right.
And so every decision is made upon, we don't have enough money, we may not have enough money, we're going to run out of money, we got to think about money, we can't misspend money. Everything was about money, and I don't mean that ugly, it's just reality.
Right.
They grew up with that. It's embedded in their mind. My fear was that we come out of the pandemic and we'd have a pandemic time eldership.
Yeah, I know. Right.
I've not seen it.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing is elders are now saying, all right, God's blessed us, let's figure out what we can do now.
Right.
So that's a good trend. I think
a good
elders
trend.
are becoming better shepherds.
Wow. Okay.
Long way around.
This is good. All right. So we've talked about the kiddos. We've talked about ministers feeling better and more connected to their congregations, and therefore potentially longevity. They're not looking to leave. We've talked about change in elderships, and elders are being more shepherds than decision makers, so to speak. Board of directors. Yeah. Okay. We're getting that in there.
That's all I got.
This is great.
That's all I got.
But so the net is a positive, is what we're saying here. The trends are going in good directions based on what you guys are seeing as you're traveling around all over the place.
Yes, observationally, things are really good in the church.
Yeah. Good. It's fantastic.
One more I'll say that's kind of cool to see, but I can't prove it. I'm seeing a lot of baptisms.
Okay. Yeah.
And that may be just a social media trend.
Yeah.
But I am seeing more baptism.
There is definitely a focus on local evangelism, I think, that we're seeing in different places. I mean, coming from even different kind of movements and things, there's this idea that, hey, we're here for a purpose as a local church, and we need to fulfill that purpose. Great Commission type thinking.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool to see. I've got a frog in my throat right now,
Yes.
so if that sounds funny, that's what's going on.
Okay, all right, that's good.
But let's let me give you a verse to kind of think about here.
Okay.
Paul's writing to the church at Philippi, one of the prison epistles, and he writes to them. And there's one question in the book of Philippians. You know what the question is in the book of Philippians?
One question in the book of Philippians. I don't know that I can think of it right now off the top of my head. I'm running through the 4 chapters.
Depending on the translation you use,
Okay.
it's either what then or so what.
Okay.
Okay, depending on the translation.
Yeah.
So Paul's writing, and he says, and I'm gonna quote it without. I will get the quote wrong, but
Okay.
some preach the gospel
Yes. Okay.
out of
Envy and strife.
envy and strife, supposing to add to my bonds. Others out of truth. And then the question, so what? And the statement, the gospel is preached.
Yeah.
I wish that every one of our preachers would embed that text in their mind.
Yeah.
Now let's think about it a little bit. First of all, he is not talking about preaching truth versus preaching error. Paul
Yes.
is not blessing Cleflo Dollar. Now we get letters, ugly letters from all the
Wow,
Cleflo Dollar
Creflo
fans
Dollar,
out
all
there
right.
now. Somebody listen to your podcast. He's not blessing the teaching of false doctrine. Okay,
Yeah. Right.
that's not what he's doing.
They're preaching Christ.
They're preaching Christ. So there's nothing about their preaching that's false. Their motive is wrong. Their motive is wrong. Not only is it wrong, Paul is writing, and he's saying they're right. They're preaching, trying to do me harm.
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of neat? So what?
Yeah.
Christ is being preached. The gospel is being preached. I wish we all could learn that as preachers.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a work right now in the brotherhood. This is not 20 questions or anything.
Okay.
You can name it. If you can name it, you get a brand new Bible. So I'm going to say this, and I hope it's not bad what I'm saying here,
Okay.
but I'm not a real fan of the guy that does it. He and I think differently. I don't really like him. I don't like his approach. I don't like his style a lot.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, you said that. There it was. It's the frog talking. It's not Dale. It's the frog.
Nevertheless,
Yeah.
the gospel is preached.
Yeah.
The man is doing a great work.
Mm-hmm.
Not just a good work, a great work.
Great work.
And I'm so happy and proud of the work he's doing.
Yeah.
And there are many, many, many souls being brought to Christ through his work. We would not appear on the same program together, probably.
Okay.
Not because I wouldn't, but he would probably refuse to be on it with me.
Okay. All right.
So I don't care.
Yeah.
The
so
gospel's preached. So what we've got to do in the brotherhood is we've got to say, I don't like this guy a lot. I don't like his style. I wish he wasn't mean. I wish he didn't come across as dogmatic or whatever. I wish
right.
he tells more stories. Take either side of that you want to take. The gospel is preached. He's not a false teacher. False teacher is another story.
Right.
He's teaching the gospel.
Yeah.
Now, let's not do what we sometimes can do in the church without meaning to. Let's not create false teachers out of our own convenience.
Yes.
I don't like Dan Winkler.
Yeah.
You can cut that now and use it.
Thank you. I've got the sound bite.
Got the sound bite.
Yeah.
And so, since I don't like Dan Winkler,
Yeah.
I do everything I can to try to prove him to be a false teacher.
Right.
Why would a gospel preacher do that to another gospel preacher?
Yeah.
There's only one reason I can think of. It'd be jealousy.
Yeah.
Which is a sin. I think I read somewhere in a book.
Yeah. I've read about that as well.
We just should rejoice when the gospel's preached. And
Yeah.
if someone's doing a good work, they may not be doing that good work the way I wish they were doing that good work. I've got a missionary friend. He's dead now. Converted literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people. This guy would spend 6 months of the year in a foreign country. He made a lot of money. He lived in a nice house in that foreign country. I would not have done the work the way he did it. But he led thousands and thousands and thousands of people to Christ, and he didn't sin in doing it.
Right.
If I moved my wife to Nigeria, it wasn't Nigeria, so I'm pulling one.
Okay.
Moved my wife to Nigeria for 6 months out of the year,
Yeah.
I guarantee you we'd have a nice house.
Okay. Right.
Because
Yeah.
she wouldn't go to Nigeria, so I'd do somewhere that she could feel safe in and be comfortable. And I wouldn't send her there.
Right.
So this guy builds a nice house in this country he's in, and people are upset. Oh, he's this and that. I don't like the work.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
The gospel's being preached.
Right.
He's doing it different. The style, the approach, and everything's different than the style and approach I take. The gospel's preached.
Yeah.
We got to get to that mentality for the health and the good of the kingdom. I'm not saying allow false teaching, embrace false teachers. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I am saying very clearly, just because you may not do the work the same way another guy would do it, doesn't mean that you need to suddenly out him or not like him. I get calls about this missionary I'm talking about. They say, should we support this guy? And I'd say, I don't know any reason you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Don't know anything. And I'd say, I think he's probably making more money than I wish he was making, but that's none of my business. I probably make more money than some other people wish I make.
Yeah, right. Well, and doesn't that play into sort of the bias thing? Just to go back to that, I mean, we have played that out really well, but I think, why would people be tempted to skew things in a negative direction about the trajectory or growth or lack thereof of the church? And sometimes it's because, frankly, people who preach Christ do things in ways that those people just don't like, and they skew that in a negative way.
Yeah, and so the guy I talked about earlier that's leading people to Christ, that he does things different than I wish it was done. Yeah, it'd be real easy for me to say, I don't think I'd have him in.
Yeah.
If he goes into your church, your church is probably going to experience some growth. I got to be happy about that. I can't be unhappy about it.
Yeah.
So So I don't know. We went a lot of places there, didn't we?
That was good though, and it was helpful. The all of that was helpful. I love those trends, but the historical sort of the backdrop to all that. Where these numbers come from. That was really helpful. I appreciate that a lot.
So I could have stopped 35 minutes ago.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it was all good. Some of that was stuff that was enlightening to me as well, and that's what we're here for: to encourage, enlighten, and empower. TheLightNetwork.tv. The JenkinsInstitute.com is where you can find the Scoop blog and links to books and the research and all that. People need to sign up for your email list so that they can participate in the research and stuff that you guys are doing and things like that. I mean, for many reasons, but
we have
that's
more
one of them.
emails deleted than anyone else in the Brotherhood.
I really like the polls, and I'm always within like the first 30 people who do it, because I look at the results, and it'll say, how many respondents, and then I'll refresh it later, and it'll say 250, and then I'll refresh it later, and it'll say, whatever. And
I talked to a friend of mine not long ago, been a couple of years ago now, I guess, who is a professional statistician. Oh, because I'm not.
Yeah, okay.
I just love numbers, but I'm not.
And Google Forms.
Yes, I Google Forms. So I talked to this guy, and I said, here's what I see. When the number reaches about 100 participants, rarely do the percentages change. Oh, okay. And I thought I'd spotted something. I was a genius. He said, no. He said, that's the way it is.
That's the way it goes.
He said, you could have 1,000 people. He said, that's why political pollsters will say plus or minus 3%. We polled 1,000 people, and here's the answer we got. So the trend tends to be set around 100 is my number. Wow. And so I watch them. I watch them every day. Yeah. The poll we did last week on sabbaticals was interesting. Yeah. I love the polls, but
the sabbaticals was interesting.
288 people took that one. Okay. So far. So there'll be others that'll take it.
I was one of those.
Thank you. Yes. And here's what's neat. I will set that poll aside, and I won't look at it again until somebody will call me 3 years now and say, hey, do we do sabbaticals in the church? And I'll say, I did a poll on that. I'll pull it up, and when I pull it up, there'll be 350 people that have taken it. Okay, yeah. So what we found happens is people discover the polls. Oh, even later. Yes. Okay. And they binge watch the polls, so to speak. They binge the polls. Binge the polls. They go in and take everyone off, And so it's kind of. I'm feeling opinionated today. Let me go over to the JenkinsInstitute.com. I want to share one of them. Yeah. But sabbatical thing was good. Yeah, we'll talk about caring for ministers. We'll talk about that some. Okay. Very good. All right. We've taken a lot of time. I've taken a lot a lot of your time. No, I feel like I've taken your time, but this was fun. Thank you so much. I always enjoy time with you. Thank you for what you do. I appreciate it. You are a light and a blessing. I know light, but you are. And you have an Easter egg on your table. I do. My son left this here. I think there used to be Smarties in it, but now it's empty. So, courtesy of Freed-Hardeman University. That's going to do it for this edition of Preachers in Training. We want to thank you for being a part of this. Reminder, every Thursday, Preachers in Training releases a new episode. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. Until then, let's go preach the word.